of the most important takeaways for being profitable at my very first book signing. Number 3 is probably the biggest reason, so if you're an indie author, you'll want to stay tuned for that. But over the weekend, I had my not my very first, but my first in a long time book signing, and it was insanely rewarding. I learned a lot about my book. I learned a lot about selling my book in person, selling my book in stores, but the most rewarding part to me was really seeing people's excitement for my book in real time. When I told them what my book was about, just seeing their eyes light up and say like, wow, I've never heard of anything like that, or that sounds interesting. That was just so rewarding to me, and I felt really blessed and fortunate just to have seen that, and seeing people that I didn't think would be interested in my book show interest. That was incredible to me. So I really do give a big thank you to anyone who bought my book, anyone who just engaged with me and talked with me about my inspirations and when the sequel was, all that kind of stuff. So if you showed up to my book signing and you're watching this video, thank you so much. I hope you're following me on social media. Feel free to bombard me with all the questions. But some important takeaways that I learned. Number 1, plan early. I planned pretty late for this book signing. When I planned my book signing, I started looking for locations after my book was done, and during my pre-sale phase, or right before my pre-sale phase. In hindsight, that was a little too late, but even with my late planning, I would call my book signing a success for a couple of reasons. And the benefit of planning earlier is so that you have time for little hiccups that will definitely show up along the way. If you're an author trying to plan a book signing, you want to make sure that there is enough lead time for shipping, whether it be your books or your promotional materials. You want to have time for meetings, and you want to have time to follow up with your decision makers at any location. The key to getting a book signing, whether it be a bookstore or a local library, is talking to the right person. And there is almost always some kind of gatekeeper between you, the author, and whoever you need to talk to plan your book signing. So definitely plan as early as you can. You want to plan sometime during the publishing process, maybe during your editing phase. Start looking for places that allow book signings. Make a list of people that you can reach out to. You definitely want to make time to visit those places in person, because you are a lot more likely to talk to the right person and get your book signing on the books, so to speak. Number 2, engage. If you're an introverted person, you probably just cringed. I get it, but you have to talk to people. Everybody that walks through the door, everybody that walks by your table, you have to engage them, even if it's just as simple as, hi, how are you? Engage with people. Don't stand behind your table. Don't sit just behind your table and not say anything. It's best to stand beside your table or in front of it and greet people warmly as they walk by. That greeting can be your in to start talking about your book. Number 3, have a point of contact. Your point of contact is the way that your readers can further engage with you. You've got to make it easy to engage and easy to remember. My suggestion is go on Canva and generate a free QR code and put it on your promotional materials. This is what I did. A few days before my book signing, I went to the bookstore and I asked them if they could just hand out some free bookmarks that I had printed that matched my book cover. So I had all the necessary information like meet the author, the date, the time, a photo of my book, and I had a QR code on my bookmarks that took them to a link page on my website. And on that link page, it has all my socials, it's got a link to my email list, and it even has my Amazon author page that would take them to all of my titles. So that is a point of contact. Another point of contact I had was putting a QR code on the title page of my book that links to my Facebook page. So readers who have purchased the book or have seen it and opened it can scan that QR code and they can engage with me there. So even if they don't purchase right away, I've made contact with them and given them a way to keep in contact me that is super, super easy. Everyone is carrying their phones with them these days, so a QR code on your promotional materials is an easy and free way to increase foot traffic to your book signing. And that foot traffic can be a leverage point for building relationships for wholesale and consignment in the future. That leads me to number 4. I really learned some important retail metrics about my book. I learned revenue per square foot, upsale statistics, and how I can use those statistics to add value to potential retailers. I already know that I want to wholesale to bookstores and stationery stores at some point in the future in my business, so I definitely kept these things in the back of my mind during my book signing. Your revenue per square foot is an equation that shows how much money your book generates in sales in its allotted space given. So bookstores use this to determine whether or not your book is a good investment for taking up space within their store. I don't know if upsale statistics are a technical term, but it's a term I came up with and kept in mind during my book signing. At my book signing, I also sold my handmade mafia romance bookmarks. They were right next to my book, and something that I have noticed is that how often online and in person, I kept in mind just how often buyers bought my bookmarks along with my book, because my bookmarks are designed to match my Christian mafia romance books. I've only written one so far, but I have several on the way. But that is a good upsell, and retailers will definitely find that kind of information valuable, because it means that their customers are spending more money and increasing their average sale number. So that was another thing that I kept in mind during my signing, and I will definitely be leveraging these findings, these statistics, when I do reach out to bookstores in the future. And the 5th thing that I learned, well, I didn't learn it, but this is something that was important to me before, but my book signing definitely solidified this thing for me personally, and it's that diversity matters. There was a lady, she was like me, a woman of color, and a Christian, and she was telling me that I should have put my photo on my book because my picture is not on my book. It's nowhere. She told me that I should put my photo on my book because had she seen who I was, that would have encouraged her and possibly others to buy as well. I learned definitely that there is just something to be said for the human element behind book sales. People love connecting with the person behind the words, and that really resonated with me. It really mattered to me, and it just kind of showed me just how much of a lack in diversity there is in the publishing world, even in the Christian space. And the last thing I learned was that pushing the envelope really does pay off sometimes. This was important to me because a long time ago, when I was in college, I had written a story, or I had started writing a story that was intended to be a web serial. It was Christian fiction, but it was a drama about a woman who was on drugs and her journey to deliverance. It was a romantic drama, in fact. And I stopped dead in my tracks because I just did not think it would be well received by a Christian audience, because it was, definitely a gritty look at what addiction can do to people. But it was also meant to be a story of redemption. Deliverance is for everybody. Redemption is for everybody. And that is what my stories are about. But when I was at my book signing, I definitely learned that I should have pushed the envelope a lot earlier, and that I was on the right track in telling stories of salvation and deliverance from that darker lens, because there was truly an audience out there that would have appreciated it. So for that, I am really grateful that I stepped outside of my comfort zone, that I engaged my readers and really listened to what they had to say. And I'm also grateful that I just went ahead and took the leap and published my book. So thank you for listening to me ramble. Thank you everybody who has bought my book so far. I hope there's many more to come, and I'll see you in the next one.